Good evening and welcome to the October 10th, 2023 meeting of the Pequannock Township Council. Miss Cazomano.
In accordance with the requirements of New Jersey Opens Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice, which was filed in the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, published as a legal notice in the Suburban Trend and Daily Records newspaper, and distributed to all the persons requesting notice in accordance with the township policy.
Okay, please join me for a pledge allegiance and a prayer and a moment of silence for individuals serving our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most gracious Providence, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding, so that every deliberation will result in actions which will promote the common good and the general welfare for all the people of Pequannock Township. Amen.
Amen. I'd just like to welcome Lisa for her first official meeting. Yeah. Relax.
Thank you.
It's not that bad so far.
So,
All right.
see what we can do about that.
So the clerk will please call the roll.
Mr. DeRisi?
Here.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Here.
Mr. Hurd?
I am here.
Mrs. Russell?
Here.
Mayor Cole?
Here. All right. There are no presentations scheduled for this evening. At this time, are there any reports or comments from any volunteers serving our community? All right. Seeing none. Next item on the agenda is public comment. This public comment period will be limited to a total of 30 minutes. An additional period for public comment is reserved for later in the meeting. Individuals are requested to limit their questions and comments to 3 minutes. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized, come to the microphone, and provide your name for the record.
Good evening, Megan Dempsey, 10 Delaware Avenue, Pompton Plains. Hi. First, I just wanted to congratulate Mayor Cole on your recognition for the PTHS Hall of Fame. Thank you. The word escaped me. I heard it was a great ceremony, so congratulations on that wonderful honor, well deserved. I am up here tonight representing the Pequannock Democratic Committee. Yesterday, as you may know, was the second Monday in October, which is observed in New Jersey as Columbus Day, but it is also a federal holiday of Indigenous Peoples Day. In honor of that, I wanted to share with you tonight the land acknowledgement that the Democratic Committee developed a couple of years back. If you're not familiar with land acknowledgements, they are formal statements that recognize and respect Indigenous peoples as traditional stewards of this land and the enduring relationship that exists between Indigenous peoples and their traditional territories. Land acknowledgements help us to understand the long-standing history that has brought us to reside on the land and to seek to understand our place within that history. So our land acknowledgement honors the Lenape people who dwelled on this land, and it was developed through research and substantial input from a liaison to the Delaware Nation through the Museum of Indian Culture. The Delaware Nation is the federally recognized tribe whose ancestors are the Lenape. At the start of our meetings and the events that we hold, we read the following. We gather today in Pequannock Township, the ancestral homelands of the Lenape people, whose language provides us with the local place names Pompton and Pequannock. A long history of broken treaties, land dispossessions, and violent conflicts by colonial settlers forced the Lenape people out of their homelands. Today, the Lenape survive as 3 U.S. federally recognized sovereign tribal nations: Delaware Nation, Anandarko, Oklahoma; Delaware Tribe of Indians, Bartlesville, Oklahoma; and Stockbridge Munsee Community in Bowler, Wisconsin, as well as 2 federally recognized Canadian First Nations: Delaware Nation at Moraviantown, Thamesville, Ontario, Canada, and Munsee Delaware Nation in Munsee, Ontario, Canada. We honor the Lenape and their past and present connection to their homelands. We commit to educating our residents of the importance of the Lenape to our local history and to work together with the Lenape to be better stewards of the land we inhabit. So as stated, our land acknowledgement commits us to be stewards of the land and also to educate people about the history of the indigenous tribes who lived here. We hope to do much more of that in the future. We have had a citizen of Delaware Nation visit one of our meetings through Zoom, and he gave an excellent presentation on the history. But we do hope to do more of these events in the future, and would think it would be wonderful to partner with organizations like the Historical Society, the Environmental Commission, and other town organizations that might be interested. So I just wanted to share that with you all tonight, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No. Next item on the agenda is the manager's report. Mr. Brewer.
Thank you, Mayor. A few things to run through. First, as indicated in my memo, the council annually must convene as the Board of Health. So as a proposed date, I was looking at the November 28th council meeting, begin at 6 o'clock as we've done in years past, to hold that Board of Health meeting if that is amenable to everybody.
Anybody have any conflicts with coming in at 6 on the 28th?
If somebody reminds me, that'll be good. Put up, see, I just put it on my
Consider that
calendar. Okay.
Perfect.
So, is that all right with everybody?
Yep.
Yeah, that looks fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah, proper.
Thank you, Mrs. Russell. Next item, preliminary flood information rate maps. As the council and the public received a presentation last meeting from the Township's Flood Resilience Officer, and she discussed the fact that the maps were promised by the end of the week. I am thrilled to note that we do actually have the corrected and revised preliminary flood information rate maps. They're still identified as preliminary because there's a formal adoption process that has to take place. But as the council is aware, this is the result of 6 years of battling with a federal agency, with the help of staff, with the help of federal legislators, and ultimately doing right by the people who were inappropriately mapped into a flood zone. We finally have this correct. So once these were posted and available online, there was a collective victory lap, in spirit at least, in this building, and I congratulate the council and the township on finally achieving what should have been a relatively simple process, but it turned out to be quite interesting.
6 years.
6 years, a lot of staff time, a lot of professional time, a lot of promises that never came to fruition. And as it notes in my memo, we did have formal correspondence prepared by Senator Booker as well as Congresswoman Cheryl to get FEMA to be a little more responsive.
We'll work the effort.
Is there anything else that we need for that, or?
The adoption process is enumerated in the memo. Some of it requires actions from FEMA, so we need a final letter of determination from them. And then we move through an adoption process, which includes the amendment to our ordinance to reflect the new maps rather than the old maps. And hopefully within 9 months that can be completed and we can be done, and they will become flood information rate maps in lieu of preliminary flood information.
And I talked to Jennifer this evening, and I thanked her, and she said she would have the new maps at the hoedown.
Yes, and we will be having the new map. The township's GIS expert, who's identified Ray Metzger in the memo, is creating a new map with 3 colors, so it's easily discernible online, whether you are or are not in the area requiring insurance. And we're going to create a list of properties by lot and block, as well as address to simplify.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well done by everybody. This evening,
Yes.
we have a public hearing for the potential acquisition for a flood buyout acquisition for 36 Pequannock Avenue. Scheduled for the council's consideration and potential approval is the municipal building exterior improvements project.
Ooh, yes, very nice.
So in plain language, rather than
Make it
fun
nice.
titles for bid documents, that is the
I like that
scraping and painting of the cupola on the roof. That is the replacement of the fence around the cupola with the PVC material, and the scraping and painting of 9 windows in the back of the building. The one option that we did not award because we did not have sufficient funds was the fascia underneath the gutters, which are in much better shape in the front, not as much in the back, so we'll look to figure out a way to deal with that in future years, but we're excited to finally get this.
Yes,
Yeah.
make it look nice.
Not cheap.
Why
No.
such a difference in bids?
It's long overdue.
Yeah, it is long overdue, but I couldn't believe
Yeah,
that.
can you believe the difference in the bids?
Huge difference.
So one of the challenges was, oftentimes bids like this are put out with architectural drawings that can cost significant money and exactly everything that has to be done. Public Works and I sat down and said, if you were soliciting quotes as a normal person, what would you do?
Yeah, those saved us a bunch of money.
So we put together something simple, gave it a shot. We had a pre-bid meeting, so we said everybody's welcome to go over there and touch it and walk around it and see it. And the low bidder did.
Oh,
The
really?
other bidders did not.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
So he
Not
knows
saying all of them
exactly what
did,
he's doing.
but it's easier to know exactly what you're talking about. So I'm looking forward to get this done. I hope we get into it.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless there's any questions, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? No? We're good? All right, next on the agenda is public hearing on Morris County Flood Mitigation Flood Program Application 36 Pequannock Ave. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If anyone in the audience has any questions or comments on this ordinance, please come to the microphone and identify yourself for the record. Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Go ahead, John.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, there are no ordinances scheduled for introduction at this time. Next on the agenda is resolutions. Miss Council Marlowe.
2023-206, to support an application to the Morris County Flood Mitigation Program. 207, award the contract for the municipal building exterior improvements, project-based bids, and alternate number 2 to Spartan Construction General Contracting Incorporation for the total contract amount $85,000 in accordance with the bid specifications. 208, approving change order number 1 for the Mountain Ave Boulevard to Turnpike reconstructing project, increasing the contract with AJM Contractors of Clifton, New Jersey by $3,612.62 to a revised contract price of $311,847.37. 209, authorizing tax office refunds, overpayments, or cancellations. 210, approving payment of the itemized claims as set forth on October 6, 2023 bill list.
Thank you. Are there any comments on the resolutions from council?
No.
I have one.
Okay.
On 2023-206, the taxable value by our own assessment was $345,000. Number one, why are we buying it for over the assessed value that we just paid our own assessors to reevaluate everything? And number two, what is the benefit to the people of Pequannock Township? By buying this home, we are no longer going to be collecting taxes of $6,300, which is their current taxes, in perpetuity. So while it's only costing us $90,000 from our open space fund, in the long run, we're going to be losing money on this with the taxes we are no longer collecting on that property.
You want to comment?
Sure. This is Russell, this is Adam. So the first question with respect to the value, there was a unique property appraisal which is required as a component of participating in the Morris County Flood Mitigation Program that was completed for the property, and that's what established the value. As far as why that value is different than the assessor's value, I don't know. With respect to the benefit to the taxpayers of the Township of Pequannock, there was an analysis done by my predecessor, not by me, that having flood-prone homes actually costs more in the long run because of the requirement for emergency services providers to respond to emergencies. While we will be losing tax revenue, it's 25% of the total taxes paid by the property. So that's a balancing decision that the council needs to make.
Right. I hear you that the 25% is only ours, but it all comes from the same pool. So we have to do right by the school board too. So that's 75% that the school no longer will need, so they'll need to raise theirs. I just don't see the value in buying a house over the assessed price. If we were getting a deal on it, I may be more inclined to vote yes on this. But the fact that we're paying over the assessed price that we just had done, I don't agree with the purchasing of this.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I have to kind of agree, that sure is an interesting, so, it's always a point in time, right, when something gets assessed. But, so that's the difference between whenever they did the assessment relative to when we did the assessment? Fluctuations in market, I mean, it is,
It's time, and we have to remember that assessments are, opinions, and different
Right.
assessors can have different opinions, just like different folks can have opinions. And an assessment looks at an entire group of properties. When you do a reassessment, you're looking at all residential
Right.
component. When you do a specific property, you're focusing in on the details of that property, so it tends to be more detailed. Which is why governmental entities, when we look for grants or loans, or in this case, it's a grant, not a loan, when we look for that, they want to see very specific appraisals. They do not want us to rely on tax assessments. It's because there's the additional detail there.
that makes sense. So, with that said, we don't have to offer this number. We can offer 250K.
Previous direction was given, and that was delivered.
So the assessed, we wanted to know what the assessed
Previous
value
direction
was.
with respect to negotiation was this number.
Yeah, I was asking that when I was away, but I think this is way too much to pay. We're paying top dollar for something that does us nothing.
Any other comments?
No, it was based more on market value than it was on assessment, that's the difference. So we just need to determine whether it's worth taking out that single house that's on that side. That was the main reason for doing it, because it was recommended that that was a lone house.
Correct.
And all the houses then would be gone, you don't have to use emergency services anymore. It
But if
is a
we're
hard
working
pill to swallow.
On market value, wouldn't it be better to wait a year or 2 years if the market goes down? Why are we buying it at the market high?
I guess that's something
When the township previously tried to acquire the property, I wasn't involved, but there wasn't a willing seller. Currently there is.
Right, that was a long time ago. Is there any way
Of course
to,
it is, we're buying it over assessed value.
right.
I would sell my house if you offered me more than it was worth, so.
So maybe
Well,
we-
is there,
Well, Kyle, your house probably could sell for more than the assessed value.
is there any
I
other
would say
way
if it
to-
doesn't, there's something wrong. I mean, almost all the houses in town are selling over the assessed value.
So it's
Is there
really,
any way to
But not from
offset-
town. The town, it's town money, that's different.
Is there any way to offset our share? Like, can we use a combination of Blue and Green Acres or Morris County open space?
Blue Acres is directly with the homeowner. I don't know in the flood, so the township wouldn't be currently involved in Blue Acres if we sought statement. I don't know if use of Green Acres is permissible or not. I haven't researched that with respect to the county's flood program.
Because I know we've acquired a bunch of other houses. I don't remember if they were from
I think
Blue
they were-
Acres,
I think
Green
they were
Acres.
and we always went through this every time we
Yes.
bought
This was-
houses.
This was the
The
program.
township used primarily the county's program once it was available. Prior to that, there were some Blue Acres acquisitions. There's also been
Right.
Green Acre acquisitions of open space. I don't think we've used Army Corps money, but that's also a typical funding source.
And if I remember correctly, the homes that we did purchase, I mean, I just shook my head at the amount of the prices that we were paying, because we were paying
More.
market value of what those homes were going for in the market.
And we bought a lot of
It's
houses.
Yeah, we
referred
did.
to as pre-flood value.
Yeah.
When acquiring
Right.
after disaster.
I mean, is there a
And
downside to
I didn't
waiting?
agree with them either because of the loss of tax income.
You've done all the
You
work.
know,
I
now
know.
that's $6,000 that now gets divvied up, that somebody else has to pick up their share. Every time we buy land, we're giving away basically our tax income.
But there is a balance, and the biggest problem is because of our, trying to be part of the CRS system, and if we get another event, when we get another event, unfortunately, it's just a matter of time, that will change the dynamic of houses like this. And then
Exactly.
if we have a problem with people walking away, that's gonna be a huge problem. Because now
We've
to
been lucky.
rebuild,
We've been
we've
lucky
been very lucky.
with
yeah.
people not walking away.
Yeah. So it's a balance.
It is.
It is. Any other comments before I say, is there a motion?
No other comments.
Is there a motion to adopt these resolutions?
I will make the motion as much as it costs me. I know it's a lot of money, but I feel like we have to do it, so I'll make a motion to, unless you want to pull that one out.
Let's pull that one out.
You want to pull that one out?
Okay, I'd like to pull that one out.
All
So
right.
why don't you start with that one, make your motion.
All right, so I'll make a motion to introduce, is it 2023-206?
Is there a second? I'll second it. We'll go to a roll call.
Mr. DeRisi?
No.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Give me a sec.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. It's definitely not an easy one. I see both sides of it, but I do have big concerns of the future, actually. I'm going to say yes.
Mrs. Russell?
No.
Mayor Cole?
Yes. All right, can we get a motion to introduce or adopt the resolutions
Sure.
from 207 to 210?
Sure. I'll make a motion to introduce 2023-207 through 2023-210.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. DeRisi?
Yes.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yeah.
Mayor Cole?
Yes. All right, next on the agenda, there are no items for discussion, and then following that, there are no reports or notices. Next item on the agenda is council reports and announcements. Councilman Dreesy.
Thank you, Mayor. Two committees met, the Historical Commission met, I did not go to that meeting, it's not available, but the Parks and Rec Committee did meet. Talked about a few things to recap from the summer, the pickleball basketball courts that we're going to find money for soon, real soon. Somebody brought up about the handball court, if we can do something with that, because supposedly
I was just gonna say
people play on that court and it's pretty bad. So request is to see if, it doesn't look like it'll take much, but if the engineer can look at that and take this. And then the other thing that was brought up, which may affect all the committees, is attendance at meetings. There was some complaints about people that are on the committee but don't show up except for like their pet project. So what I requested, I said, okay, can you give us a list of who attended what meeting, because obviously they keep attendance, and that might affect us appointing people going forward. So I don't know if you want to make, if anybody else has any concerns from their committees, but I just said, hey, look, if you're concerned about it, let's get a roll call, and if there's two people and one person doesn't show up that's on it, well, then they don't get back on it.
We'll have to ask Carol, because I thought there was something that we discussed and
We
put in
did.
place, that the chairman could remove members
Oh,
If they
that
miss
miss a
meetings.
certain amount of
okay,
meetings.
I was not aware of that.
That's
well,
statutory.
Yeah,
Let's
That's
find.
New Jersey
yeah.
statutory, they have to
Oh.
advise the council that the person
Right.
can be removed.
Okay, all right, all right, I'll ask Carol to maybe get that.
so we need, I guess we need to the attendance of people that miss.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I asked, just give me that for the, when we,
I thought it was, Dave, that the chairman can recommend, but that the council could only remove the members.
Correct.
Correct.
Committee, I think actually the committee has to vote to send it to the council, but yes.
Right.
but after how many, so
Yeah,
I'll,
because I
that's all
know
good.
Three
the
absences.
Parks and Rec had voted that anybody who misses, I don't know, 2 or 3 meetings, they did that last year, that they would be off. But then we had said that the council could only remove somebody.
Yeah, we would prefer to have a resignation
Mhm.
letter if it's just
Right.
too busy.
Well, it's probably easier just to not put them back on, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah,
If
that's what I
What
thought.
Don feels, that's a great idea.
If they're up for
Right,
reappointment.
Yes, correct.
right.
Right, and then, all right, so that's pretty much it for the committees. Flood maps, congrats to everybody involved. It was a long, hard fight, but it was definitely well worth it for the residents of Pequannock. And last, I'd like to give a shout out to all the Parks and Rec guys that take care of all of the fields for the kids. Supposedly, it's a lot of work. I saw somebody the other day, they're out every day during the week. They're out Saturdays, they're out Sundays, so big shout out to those guys. Thank you for taking care of our kids. We gotta take care of our kids.
Absolutely.
And back to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Dreesen. Councilwoman Florence Lynch.
Yes, just a couple of things. I'd also like to congratulate Mayor Cole for the Hall of Fame. That's
He's
a
famous.
really well deserved award. Also, just wanted to mention, the first aid squad had a successful, besides the fact that it rained and it was windy, they had, I think it was their 3rd annual Oktoberfest last weekend. I was not here, I was away. It's a shame it rained. Next time if they do it, I hope they have a rain date. I guess they just couldn't get
It only rained in the early at the beginning. So by 2 o'clock, it actually was just windy.
It's just windy, yeah, I heard.
It was raining when I was there.
Yeah.
But I know they really, put their heart and soul into putting that together, and they did a good job. The hoedown this weekend, let's hope for no rain. I don't know if there's a rain date, but I hear it's supposed to rain, but hopefully everybody will come out for the hoedown.
Unless something, forgive the interruption, unless something changes, we're gonna proceed with it on Saturday based upon what's anticipated for Sunday.
Okay,
So
okay.
moving something is never a good thing, and then the worst
Right.
forecast.
So I guess,
We're monitoring it, but the plan is to proceed
To
unless it
proceed with
changes.
it.
I
Okay.
guess you will notify us.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, we'll show up there in the morning. Oh, we're in there, buddy.
And I know some of, we're gonna have a lot of the town committees under the pavilion again. I know the flood committee's gonna be there with the flood maps, so that's good. I know, again, kudos to everyone that works so hard on those flood maps, so now we just have to get them adopted. And that's to come. There is a meeting this Thursday, October 12th at 7 p.m. here in this room for the flood committee to meet. Let's see, what else? Economic development, they'll meet the 4th Wednesday, which is October 25th, here in this room at 7 o'clock. And my senior citizen advisory committee will be meeting, they moved their meetings to the morning, so that one is going to be October 18th at 10 a.m., so that's on Wednesday, the 18th. And other than that, I don't have anything new.
All right,
Thank
thank you, Councilwoman Florence Lynch. Councilman Hurd.
Thank you, Mayor. You're famous now. Everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Open space. I had questions too at my meeting about the handball courts. If we could possibly repave it when we're doing the other stuff. And it was interesting though, because they also said that, because I know Cub Scouts, we use it a lot, when we're doing our thing, and the kids, they definitely love it. But they also said they can use it for practice for the pickleball, which I didn't know. So at least we'd be getting use out of it. So if there was some way to just repave it, that'd be great. Hopefully it doesn't cost much. I asked about the Green Blue Acres. We did speak about that. Okay, so first aid squad, the chief received his new truck and he got it lettered. I sent you guys the pictures. It looked
Very nice.
beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful.
We're going to be putting it on the website. Nice and new is always good. Oktoberfest went well. I was there early. It was cold. It was windy, but the band sounded awesome. And then we were speaking about it at the meeting last night. They said the last band was phenomenal. So, hey, it rained, but they still made the best of it. The other interesting thing is they had like 25 vendors and there was only 6 or 7 there. So there was a lot that were signed up. So I can only imagine how it's going to be next year, especially if we have a nice day. Let's see, the November 17th is the dinner dance and awards. That's what we got our thing for in our mailbox. Pancake breakfast is December 9th. They had a total of 90 calls this month. Out of that, 30 were from Cedar Crest. And then there was actually a question, because we were talking about the history of Cedar Crest. And it came up that at some point there was a state requirement that Cedar Crest had to have 2 ambulances, one rural and one for back. But now we're talking about however long Cedar Crest was made. So I guess the question is, where would you find out if that's true? That predates me, so I have no clue.
Yeah, it was in
So, Mr. Osteich and I have done a fair amount of research into this. A few months ago, we tried to find an answer to a question, because when it was originally proposed, they weren't going to use the squad, and they were going to use the squad. There were things that changed throughout time,
Right.
and ultimately we arrived at the reality we have today. Bob, correct me please if I'm wrong, but we could find no definitive answer to any of our questions in the prevailing documents.
Yes, and
You would think, the first place we looked was the bid, and it wasn't clearly delineated. There were comments in the resolutions of approval and the testimony. We reviewed stacks of documents, and it went back and forth, and at times you couldn't figure out why.
Just in there, let's-
So it was never
so
really
we,
in there.
so
It would be a lot more helpful if it was clearly in there.
So as far as we know, there is no paper trail. We can't find anything in any agreements, any paper that we have that talk about that.
Correct. Nothing definitive that we could find that we can hang our hats on to say either we don't have to provide or they have to do something else.
And actually, that's an interesting question. So if we were to roll back the clock of time and go back, whatever, 15, 20 years, and the state at that point mandated something, is that something enforceable today? Or is that something that would be in a document somewhere that would be enforceable?
Yeah, it would have to be something that's in the book. Say, I've never heard that that came from the state. What I always heard is it came from the board and from the township. As far
So
as
we would have put it as a requirement.
Yeah.
Got it.
I don't think you know.
No,
It's a state requirement.
I've never heard the state requirement. The
Okay.
state requirement is that the service is provided somehow to the residents, whether it be us or someone else.
But we could have made that agreement, or an agreement could have been made for that property at the time of development,
Yes.
because there was so many people and we have a volunteer force.
There would have been a question years later how enforceable it was as many, many years go by, but yes,
But something. Okay.
something.
But
Just
because
interesting.
it never happened, we're screwed. There's nothing that can be done.
Well, we're providing them with service.
Service, you gotta provide them with
Yeah.
service, yeah.
We're doing the best we
They also
can.
provide
I know.
donations, there's a lot of relationships there, so there's,
Yeah.
there's,
It really hurts.
there's a lot to it.
Go back.
And then, last thing I have is congratulations to the marching band for their performance at MetLife Stadium last weekend. It was for the U.S. Band's Lug Wing Musser Classic.
Cool.
It's really cool being on the field again. But yeah, they did great. We're going to be back at the field on November 4th for our final performance, at least for the competition season. But they're doing awesome as usual. So congratulations. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Russell.
I do not have much. Congrats, Dave, on your Hall of Fame award. I loved your pictures. It was great. I loved what you said. Environmental meets tomorrow. Library meets next week. At the last meeting, we talked about possibly doing solar panels when we do the new roof, if we do the new roof. So that's exciting. Library will meet next week. Congrats on the new vehicle for the first aid squad. It looks great. I think they did a great job. Congrats to First Aid on their Oktoberfest. Let's hope next year the weather is a little better. And that's it for me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilwoman Russell. I just have a few things. So planning board didn't meet. Our next scheduled meeting for planning board is the first Monday in November. Fire Department, Company 1 moved their meeting from last Friday to this Friday. Company 2 will meet this Thursday. Congratulations, like everyone said, to the first aid squad. I stopped by around 5:15, 5 o'clock. They had, great bands. I think last year it rained on their Oktoberfest too. So, we're going to keep our fingers crossed that they have a nice weather for their next one. Thank you to Jennifer and everyone that participated in helping us with the flood maps. That was a huge relief for a bunch of residents, and glad that it all worked out. The last thing that I have is a little personal. It's come to Angela and my attention that there is a group of people in town that believe that Angela was my teacher in high school, Angela graduated from Moravian College in 1984. I graduated from Pequannock Township High School in 1983. I did not even know what Moravian College was in 1983. So, you know, you can throw darts at me, but don't throw darts at my wife. That's all I ask.
Good job, Dave.
Yeah, so that's all I have to say about that. We'll move on to the next topic. The next topic is public comment. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized, come to the microphone and provide your name and address for the record. You want to come up? No. Anyone else? Seeing none? There are no minutes for approval. Next on the agenda is closed session. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2023-2011 authorizing the Township Council to meet in executive session to discuss matters of attorney-client privilege?
Yes.
And
I'll
Mr. Mayor, if I
second.
may just note that for the benefit of the audience and the record, there may be action taken at the conclusion of closed session.
Okay, is there a second? You said second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Action may be taken following the closed session. At this time, the public comment portion of this meeting is recessed for closed session. Ms. Marsh always takes care of that.
Wanted to make sure, I apologize.
All right. Thank you all for coming.